She sat in the restricted archives of Station Verith 7, surrounded by holographic texts and ancient data crystals that no one had touched in centuries. The dim blue light made her purple skin look almost black, and her 4 eyes ached from reading so many forgotten records. The Knitters, the founders, every child in the Coalition learned about them in their first year of school. They were the ancient race that had given the galaxy everything: faster than light travel, gravity manipulation, terraforming technology that could turn dead rocks into paradise worlds. 12,000 years ago, they had ruled 1,000,000 star systems, and then one day they simply vanished. No war, no plague, no explanation. They were there, and then they were not, leaving behind only their machines, and their mysteriouser had always thought of them as myths, stories made larger by time and imagination. But the scanner did not lie, and the words founder-level entity burned in her memory like a branded door opened behind her, and she turned to see High Admiral Kethvorin enter the archives. He was an old Melthery, his gray scales scarred from decades of combat, his single remaining eye glowing with sharp intelligence. "Commander," he said in his deep, rumbling voice, "what have you found?" Sithra gestured at the chaos of documents around her. "More questions than answers, Admiral. The founders left almost no records of their own biology. We have their machines, their buildings, their ships, but nothing about what they actually looked like or how their bodies worked. Until now." The Admiral said he placed a data crystal on the table and activated it. A holographic image appeared, showing the DNA structure of a human being next to a pattern that Sithra did not recognize. "Our geneticists ran the human boy through every test we have," the Admiral explained. "When they compared his genetic code to the interface systems on Founder artifacts, something extraordinary happened." "What do you mean?" Sithra asked. The Admiral tapped his datapad, and the lights in the room flickered. "That was not me," he said quietly. "That was the station responding to my mention of the test results. Every founder system on Verith 7 has begun to wake up." Sithra felt her heart beating faster. There were 3 of them in her chest, and right now all 3 were pounding like drums. "Wake up? Machines that have been dormant for millennia are activating," the Admiral continued. "Defense systems, communication arrays, even the old terraforming equipment in the lower levels. They are all responding to the presence of the human boy like servants recognizing the return of their master." He pulled up another file on the holographic display. This one showed a star map with a small yellow sun marked in the outer regions of Coalition space, Earth. The Admiral said, "The human homeworld. We always assumed it was a primitive planet that developed faster than light travel on its own." "We were wrong." Sithra leaned forward. "What do you mean?" "Earth was quarantined," the Admiral said. 12,000 years ago, the founders placed an automated defense system around that entire sector of space. Any ship that approached was destroyed or turned away. We detected the system centuries ago, but we thought it was protecting a dead world of no importance. It was protecting their descendants." Sithra whispered. The Admiral nodded slowly. "The founders did not vanish entirely. They left something behind. They left humanity. And they made sure no one would disturb them until they were ready." Sithra stood up so fast that her chair fell over. "Are you telling me that humans are the direct descendants of the founders? That they carry founder blood in their veins?" "Not just blood," the Admiral said. "Our geneticists found something in human DNA that they have never seen before. Compressed data, hidden in what the humans call junk DNA. Star maps, scientific formulas, activation codes for founder technology. The humans carry the entire founder legacy written into their very bodies." The implications hit Sithra like a physical blow. For 12,000 years, the Coalition had treated founder artifacts with religious reverence. They had built entire civilizations around technology they could barely understand and could never replicate, and now it turned out that the keys to all of it had been locked away on a small blue planet. waiting inside creatures who had no idea what they really were. "Does the boy know?" she asked. "Marcus Cole knows nothing," the Admiral replied. "He grew up on a mining colony. His father was a mechanic. He joined the academy because he wanted to escape poverty and build a better life. He had no idea that he was anything special." Sithra laughed bitterly. "He is not special, Admiral. He is the most important being in the entire galaxy. Every government, every corporation, every religious movement will want to control him. This changes everything." The Admiral's face grew dark. "It changes more than you know. I have already received communications from factions within the Coalition. Some want to worship the humans as the returned founders. Others want to study them, dissect them, unlock their secrets by force. And some want them dead," Sithra guessed. "The Silent Accord," the Admiral confirmed. "A group that has existed in secret for thousands of years. They believe the founders were not benevolent creators, but tyrants who enslaved the galaxy. They have sworn to destroy any trace of founder influence." Sithra felt cold, despite the warmth of the archives. "They will try to kill the boy. They will try to kill all of humanity," the Admiral said. "Every human being carries founder genetics. Every human being is a potential threat to their ideology. If word of this discovery reaches the wrong ears, Earth itself could be targeted. Then we must protect them," Sithra said. "We must protect all of them." The Admiral nodded. "That is why I am here. I am assembling a task force, Commander, and I want you to lead it. Your job will be to guard Marcus Cole, study his abilities, and prepare for whatever comes next." Sithra thought about the terrified young human she had seen on the scanner platform. The boy who had asked what a founder was with such innocent confusion. He had no idea that he was an heir to the architects of the galaxy, had no idea that his very existence might start a war. "I will do it," she said. "But I need to speak with him first. He deserves to know the truth about what he is." The Admiral handed her a security badge. "He is in Medical Bay 7. The doctors have been running tests all day. I suspect he has many questions." Sithra took the badge and headed for the door, but she stopped before leaving. "Admiral, what if the humans do not want this responsibility? What if they just want to be left alone?" The Admiral's single eye looked tired and sad. "Then I fear the galaxy will not give them that choice. The founders are returning, Commander, whether they like it or not, and nothing will ever be the same again." Marcus Cole stood in a line of 40 recruits and tried not to look nervous. He failed badly at this task because his hands kept shaking and his heart beat so fast that he could hear it in his ears. The assessment chamber was a massive circular room made of metal that seemed to breathe with soft blue light. All around him stood aliens of every shape and size. Creatures he had only seen in training videos back on Earth. A Ka-Earth Krillian warrior with 4 arms and skin like rough stone stood in front of him. And behind him waited a Dronathi female whose body seemed to be made of living crystal that caught the light in beautiful ways. Marcus was the only human in the room, and everyone knew it, Commander. Sithra walked down the line with the kind of bored expression that only comes from doing the same job for 50 years. She was a Valorian, tall and thin with 4 golden eyes and skin the color of dark purple wine. "Move forward when I call your designation," she announced in a voice that echoed off the metal walls. "The scanner will assess your combat potential and assign you a tier rating. This will determine your training path for the next 3 cycles." Marcus had studied the tier system on the long journey to Station Barra 7. Tier 1 was basic support, good for logistics and medical work. Tier 5 was elite combat specialist, the kind of soldier that could change the outcome of a battle. Most recruits landed somewhere in the middle, and Marcus hoped he would be good enough to avoid the shame of a Tier 1 rating. The first Krillian stepped into the scanner. a circular platform surrounded by floating rings of light that spun slowly around the body. The machine hummed for exactly 3 seconds and then displayed the result on a holographic screen. Krillian male. Designation K447. Combat Tier 4. Assault Classification. The machine announced in a flat voice. Commander Sithra made a note on her datapad without looking up. Next, she said. One by one, the recruits stepped forward and received their ratings. Most of the Krillians scored Tier 3 or Tier 4, built for direct combat with their natural armor and multiple limbs. The Dranathi scored lower in physical combat, but higher in tactical analysis. Their crystalline brains processing information faster than any computer. Marcus watched and waited as the line grew shorter. A Norvakian scored Tier 5 and the whole room went quiet with respect. Tier 5 ratings were rare, maybe 1 in 1,000 recruits. And the tall insectoid creature clicked its mandibles with obvious pride. Impressive, Commander Sithra said. And it was the first time Marcus had seen her show any emotion at all. Finally, there were only 3 recruits left. Then 2, then just Marcus standing alone before the scanner platform, human male. Designation H001. Commander Sithra read from her pad. First human exchange student in Academy history. Step forward. Marcus walked onto the platform and felt the light rings begin to spin around him. The machine hummed just like it had for every other recruit, a soft sound that vibrated through his bones. 3 seconds passed, then 5, then 10. Commander Sithra looked up from her pad with a frown. Scanner malfunction, she muttered and tapped at her device. Run diagnostic. The machine kept humming, but now the sound was getting louder and the rings were spinning faster. Marcus felt heat building around him and saw the blue lights turning red one by one. What is happening? Someone asked from the crowd of recruits. The scanner screamed. That was the only word Marcus could think of to describe the sound that erupted from the machine. It was a high-pitched wail that made everyone in the room cover their ears and stumble backward. Warning lights exploded across every surface of the assessment chamber. Red and orange and yellow, flashing in patterns that seemed random and chaotic. Alarms began to blare from speakers Marcus had not even noticed before. Shut it down, Commander Sithra shouted, but her voice was barely audible over the noise. The holographic display above the scanner flickered and glitched, showing error codes and symbols that scrolled past too fast to read. Marcus stood frozen on the platform, afraid to move. Afraid that any action might make things worse. Then everything stopped. The silence was so sudden and so complete that it felt like a physical weight pressing down on the room. The lights returned to their normal blue color, and the rings slowed to their gentle spin. But the holographic display had changed. Where every other recruit had seen a simple tier rating, Marcus now saw words that glowed in a shade of gold he had never seen before. Words that made Commander Sithra drop her datapad and take 3 steps backward. Classification. Founder-level entity. Authorization required. That is not possible, Commander Sithra whispered. The room erupted into chaos. Recruits shouted questions and demands, some in languages that Marcus did not understand. 2 Krillians near the door looked ready to fight, their 4 arms raised in defensive positions. Silence! Commander Sithra roared, and her voice carried a power that cut through the noise like a blade. Everyone will remain calm, and no one will leave this chamber until I understand what has happened here. She turned her 4 golden eyes toward Marcus, and he saw something in them that made his blood run cold. It was fear, real and deep and ancient. The kind of fear that comes from stories told to children about monsters in the dark. Who authorized a founder-level being into my academy? She demanded. No one answered. No one could answer because no one understood the question. Marcus raised his hand like a child in a classroom. I am sorry, he said in his best alien common language. But what is a founder? Commander Sithra stared at him for a long moment, and then she laughed. But it was not a happy sound. It was the laugh of someone who has just realized that the universe is much stranger and much more dangerous than they ever believed. What is a founder? She repeated. The founders are the gods who built the galaxy, boy. They created every piece of technology we use, terraformed every world we live on, and then vanished 12,000 years ago without explanation. She pointed at the glowing words above his head, and according to that machine, you are one of them. Marcus looked up at the golden text and then back at the terrified faces all around him. 40 recruits from 12 different species, all staring at him like he was either a miracle or a monster. He had come to the academy to escape poverty on a mining colony. He had come to learn how to fight and to make something of himself. He had not come to be called a god. There must be some mistake, he said. Commander Sithra shook her head slowly. The scanner has never made a mistake in 400 years of operation. Whatever you are, human, it is not a mistake. She reached for her communicator with trembling fingers. High Command needs to know about this immediately. The founders have returned. Marcus sat alone in a white room on a coalition research vessel and tried to remember who he was. 3 weeks had passed since the scanner incident, and in that time, his entire world had shattered into pieces. He was no longer Marcus Cole, the poor kid from a mining colony who dreamed of becoming a soldier. Now he was Marcus Cole, living heir to the founders, carrier of ancient secrets written into his blood. He hated it. The door slid open, and Commander Sithra entered with a datapad in her hands. She had become something like a friend in these past weeks. Or at least the closest thing to a friend that Marcus had in this strange new life. The council has made their decision, she said. And her voice carried no emotion. Marcus looked up. What did they decide? They are divided, Sithra admitted. 3 factions have formed. The Reverence movement wants to treat humanity as sacred beings, descendants of gods who should be honored and obeyed. The Pragmatic Coalition wants to study humans and unlock founder technology through cooperation. And the Silent Accord wants to kill us, Marcus finished. I know. You have told me about them before. Sithra nodded. Their influence is growing. Many species fear what the return of the founders might mean. They remember the old stories of how the founders ruled with absolute power, how they shaped entire worlds to their will without asking permission. Marcus laughed, but there was no humor in the sound. I cannot even shape my own breakfast. I grew up eating protein paste and recycled water. My father fixed machines for 12 hours a day just to keep us alive. Does that sound like a god to you? It does not matter what you were, Sithra said gently. It matters what you represent. To the galaxy, you are a symbol, and symbols have power beyond the individuals who carry them. She sat down across from him and placed her datapad on the table. There is something else I need to tell you. We've been running more tests on your genetic structure, and we have discovered something important. More secrets in my blood? Marcus asked bitterly. Yes, Sithra said, but not just information. We have found neural architecture in your brain that does not exist in any other species. Pathways that seem designed to interface directly with founder technology. Marcus frowned. What does that mean? It means that you can control founder machines with your thoughts, Sithra explained. Not all of them and not perfectly, but the connection is there. When you touched the scanner on your first day, you did not just trigger a reading. You woke it up. You made it remember what it was built to do. The implications of her words slowly sank into Marcus's mind. Are you saying that I can use founder technology? That I can make their machines work? We believe so, Sithra confirmed, and we want to test that theory. There is a founder artifact in the research bay that has resisted all attempts at activation for 6,000 years. We want you to try. Marcus stood up and walked to the window. Outside he could see stars stretching into infinity. More stars than he had ever seen from his small mining colony on the edge of human space. He had never asked for any of this. He had never wanted to be special or important. All he had wanted was a chance to prove himself, to show that a poor kid from nowhere could become something more. But this was not the kind of more he had imagined. What happens if it works? He asked without turning around. Then we will know for certain that humans can interface with founder systems, Sithra replied. And the galaxy will have to decide what to do with that knowledge. And if it does not work? Sithra was quiet for a moment. Then perhaps we are wrong about everything. Perhaps the scanner made a mistake after all. Marcus turned to face her. You said the scanner has never made a mistake. I did, she admitted. But I have been wrong before. I would rather be wrong about this than watch you destroy yourself, trying to live up to expectations that no being should have to carry. For the first time in weeks, Marcus felt something other than fear and confusion. He felt grateful. Sithra had treated him as a person, not as a symbol or a threat or a god to be worshipped. I will do it, he said. I will try to activate the artifact. But I need you to promise me something. What? Sithra asked. If this works, if I really am what you think I am, promise me that you will help me stay myself. I do not want to become a weapon or a messiah. I just want to be Marcus. Sithra extended her hand in the human gesture she had learned. I promise. They walked together through the research vessel, past laboratories filled with scientists and soldiers who all stopped to stare as Marcus passed. Some bowed their heads in reverence, while others watched with suspicion and fear. The artifact chamber was at the heart of the ship. A sealed room protected by guards and force fields and every security measure the Coalition possessed. Inside sat a small metal cylinder covered in patterns that seemed to shift and move when Marcus looked at them. This is a founder communication device, a Dranathi scientist explained, her crystal body flickering with nervous light. It was found on a dead world 3,000 years ago. We have tried everything to make it function, but it remained silent. Marcus approached the cylinder and felt something strange happening inside his head. It was like a door opening, a connection forming, a voice calling out across thousands of years of silence. He reached out his hand. The moment his fingers touched the metal, the cylinder began to glow. Golden light poured from the patterns on its surface and filled the chamber with warmth. The scientists scrambled backward in shock as holographic displays burst into existence all around them, and then the cylinder spoke, "Welcome, young architect," it said in a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "We have been waiting for you. The seeds have finally grown. The children have finally come home." Marcus felt tears running down his face, though he did not know why. The voice in the artifact was ancient beyond measure, patient beyond understanding, and it spoke to something deep inside him that he had never known existed. "Who are you?" He whispered. "We are the echo of those who came before," the voice replied. "We are the memory of the founders. And you, young one, are our legacy. You are the future we hoped for when we planted you among the stars." The golden light faded and the cylinder went silent, but the room remained changed. Every scientist, every soldier, every being who had witnessed what happened stood in stunned silence. Marcus looked at his own hands as if seeing them for the first time. He was not just human anymore. He was something new, something old, something that the galaxy had forgotten and was now being forced to remember. And somewhere in the dark between the stars, he knew that others were watching, waiting to see what he would do with the inheritance he had never asked for. Marcus was sleeping in his quarters on the research vessel when the alarms began to scream. Red lights flashed in the darkness, and the ship shook with the impact of weapons fire against its shields. He stumbled out of bed and found Commander Sithra already at his door with a plasma rifle in her hands. "We need to move," she shouted over the noise. "The Silent Accord has found us." They ran through corridors filled with smoke and chaos. Soldiers rushed past them, heading toward battle stations, while scientists fled toward escape pods. The sound of explosions echoed through the metal walls like thunder. How did they find us? Marcus asked as they ducked through a maintenance hatch. There are traitors everywhere, Sithra replied. The Silent Accord has members in every government, every military, every organization in the coalition. They have been preparing for this moment for thousands of years. Another explosion rocked the ship, and Marcus fell against the wall. When he looked up, he saw something that made his blood freeze. Through a window, he could see the attacking fleet. Dozens of warships painted black, firing beams of energy that cut through the research vessel like knives. There are too many, he said. We cannot fight them all. Sithra grabbed his arm and pulled him forward. We are not trying to fight them. We are trying to get you off this ship. There is a shuttle in Bay 12 that can jump to safety. What about everyone else? Marcus demanded. What about the crew? The crew is doing their job, Sithra said firmly. They are buying you time to escape. That is what matters. Marcus wanted to argue, but he knew she was right. He had seen the way people looked at him now. The weight of hope and fear in their eyes. To them, he was not just a person anymore. He was the key to everything the founders had left behind. They reached Bay 12, just as another explosion tore through the deck above them. The shuttle was small and fast, designed for exactly this kind of emergency escape, but standing between them and the shuttle were three figures in black. Armor Silent Accord assassin Sithra raised her rifle, but one of the assassins was faster. He moved like liquid shadow and knocked the weapon from her hands. The other two advanced on Marcus with blades that glowed with strange energy. The founder bloodline ends today, one of them said through his mask. The tyrants will not return. Marcus felt something inside him snap. It was not anger, not fear, but something deeper. A connection to systems he could barely understand. A voice calling out from the ancient machines all around him. He raised his hand without thinking, and the assassins' blade stopped in midair. The lights in the bay flickered, and every founder system on the ship suddenly came alive. Doors sealed themselves, weapons charged without operators, and a deep humming filled the air like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant. What are you doing? The assassin shouted, and for the first time, there was fear in his voice. I do not know, Marcus admitted, but his body seemed to know. His hand moved, and the assassin flew backward as if struck by an invisible force. The other two tried to run, but the doors would not open for them. They were trapped. Sithra stared at Marcus with wide eyes. How did you do that? The ship, Marcus said slowly. I can feel it. I can feel all of it. The engines, the weapons, the life support. It is all connected to me somehow. He closed his eyes and reached out with his mind. Beyond the research vessel, he could sense other things, other systems. Ancient machines that had been sleeping for millennia, now stirring at his touch, and then he felt something else. Something far away, but growing closer. Something massive and old and impossibly powerful. There is a ship coming, he whispered. A founder ship. It heard me. It is coming to help. The battle outside suddenly changed. The Silent Accord fleet that had been winning so easily now found itself facing something they could not understand. A vessel emerged from nowhere, appearing in normal space without any warning. And it was beautiful in a way that made Marcus's heart ache. It was 5 kilometers long and shaped like a living thing, all curves and flowing lines. It glowed with the same golden light that Marcus had seen in the communication artifact. And when it spoke, every ship in the system heard its voice. Hostile vessels detected. It announced, Founder Air present. Protection protocols activated. The Silent Accord ships tried to flee, but they were too slow. Beams of golden light lanced out from the Founder vessel and disabled them one by one. Not destroyed, Marcus noticed, just stopped. Their engines dead and their weapons silent in Less than a minute, the battle was over. Marcus felt the founder ship reaching out to him, inviting him aboard, offering him control of systems that could reshape the galaxy itself. It called him young architect and promised him power beyond imagination. "Marcus," Sithra said carefully, "what is happening?" "The ship wants me to come aboard," he replied. "It says I can have everything. Control of the entire founder network. Every weapon, every machine, every secret they left behind. I could end this war with a thought." Sithra looked at him with a mixture of hope and fear. "Will you do it?" Marcus thought about everything that had happened. The scanner that had changed his life, the tests and the questions and the factions fighting over his future. He thought about the Silent Accord who wanted him dead, and the Reverence movement who wanted him to be a god. He thought about his father, working 12-hour days just to survive, teaching Marcus that the measure of a person was not what they could take, but what they chose to give. "No," he said finally, "I will not become what they fear. I will not become a tyrant." He reached out with his mind to the founder network, to the ancient systems that stretched across the galaxy waiting for commands, and he sent a message. Not a command, not an order, but a simple statement broadcast on every frequency the Coalition used. "We did not come back to rule," he said, and his voice carried across 1,000,000 star systems. "We came back to remember." The founders left because they realized that power without purpose is empty. "We are not your gods. We are your cousins, and we would rather build something new together than rebuild something old alone." The golden ship waited for his decision. The galaxy held its breath, and Marcus Cole, the poor kid from a mining colony who never wanted to be special, made a choice that would change everything. 1 year had passed since Marcus Cole refused to become a god. The galaxy had changed in ways that no one could have predicted. The Silent Accord was broken, its leaders arrested or scattered, its ideology rejected by a coalition that had finally seen what fear and hatred could do. The Reverence movement still existed, but it had transformed into something healthier. A celebration of heritage rather than worship of power, and humanity had found its place among the stars. Marcus stood at the window of the new Architects Academy on Earth and watched the sun rise over the mountains. This building had not existed a year ago. It had been built by human hands working alongside Krillian engineers and Dranathi architects, a symbol of what different species could create together. Behind him, the main hall was filling with recruits. Not just humans, but beings from every corner of the Coalition. Valorians and Melthari and Norvakians and dozens of other species, all come to learn and grow and become something more than they had been. Commander Sithra walked up beside him. She had left her position in the Coalition military to help Marcus build this place. Her 4 golden eyes reflected the morning light as she looked out at the view. "The first class is assembled," she said. "Are you ready?" Marcus smiled. "I am never ready, but I have learned that waiting until you feel ready means waiting forever." They walked together into the great hall where 300 recruits sat in rows of seats that curved around a central stage. The room buzzed with nervous energy and whispered conversations in a dozen different languages. Marcus stepped onto the stage, and the room fell silent. "Welcome to the new Architects Academy," he said, and his voice carried to every corner without any amplification. A small gift from his connection to Founder Systems, one of many he was still learning to understand. "Some of you have come here because you heard the stories about me, about humans and the Founders and the war that almost destroyed everything." He paused and looked out at the faces, staring back at him. So many species, so many backgrounds, so many dreams and fears and hopes, all gathered in one place. "I want to tell you something important," he continued. "The stories got it wrong. I am not special. I am not a god or a hero or a chosen one. I am just a person who happened to be born with certain abilities. Abilities that I did not earn and did not ask for." A murmur ran through the crowd. This was not what they had expected to hear. The founders were the same, Marcus said. They had incredible power, technology beyond anything we can imagine, the ability to reshape worlds and move stars. But in the end, they realized that power means nothing without purpose. They vanished because they understood that the greatest gift they could give the galaxy was the chance to grow on its own. He gestured toward the windows where the morning sun was now fully above the mountains. That is why we built this academy. Not to create soldiers or weapons or tools of war. We built it to create builders. We want to teach you how to take whatever abilities you have, whatever tier rating some scanner gives you, and use those abilities to make the galaxy a better place. In the front row sat a young Krillian female with nervous eyes and scales that shifted from gray to green depending on her mood. Marcus had noticed her the moment she walked in because she reminded him of himself on that first day at Station Verith 7. "You," he said, pointing at her. "What is your name?" The Krillian stood up quickly, almost knocking over her chair. "Kethra, sir. I am from a farming colony on the Outer Rim. Tell me, Kethra, why did you come here?" She hesitated, her scales flickering between colors. "I wanted to prove myself. My scanner rating was Tier 2. Everyone said I would never amount to anything. I came here to show them they were wrong." Marcus nodded slowly. "Tier 2. Do you know what tier the scanner assigned to me when I first stepped onto its platform?" Kethra shook her head. "It did not give me a tier," Marcus said. "It gave me a classification that scared everyone in the room. People looked at me like I was a monster or a miracle. They expected me to be something extraordinary because of what a machine said about my blood." He walked down from the stage and stood in front of the young Krillian. But that machine did not know who I really was. It could not see my fears or my doubts or my dreams. It could not measure the things that actually matter. Courage, kindness, the willingness to keep trying when everything seems impossible. He placed his hand on her shoulder. "Tier does not matter. What matters is what you build with what you have got." Kethra's scales settled into a warm golden color, and she nodded with determination in her eyes. Marcus turned back to address the full room. "In the next 3 years you will learn many things. Technology and tactics and teamwork. But the most important lesson I can teach you is this. The founders did not make the galaxy great by ruling it. They made it great by planting seeds and giving those seeds room to grow." He pointed toward the windows again. Outside, visible against the blue sky, a massive ship was rising from the launch platform nearby. It was the first joint human coalition colony vessel, carrying 2,000 beings from 50 different species toward an unexplored galaxy. "That ship is called the New Seed," Marcus said. "It carries not conquerors, but gardeners. People who want to find new worlds and help them flourish, not control them. That is the legacy we are building. Not an empire of power, but a network of hope." The recruits began to applaud, slowly at first, and then with growing enthusiasm. Marcus saw hope in their eyes instead of fear, curiosity instead of suspicion. Sithra joined him on the stage. "That was a good speech," she said quietly. "It was the truth," Marcus replied. "The founders understood something that took me a long time to learn. Real strength is not about what you can do. It is about what you choose to do. And the best choice anyone can make is to help others find their own strength." Outside the window, the new seed grew smaller as it climbed toward the stars, carrying with it the future of a galaxy that had finally learned to stop being afraid. The founders had not vanished. They had simply planted a seed and waited for it to grow. And now, after 12,000 years, that seed had become a garden. And the garden was spreading across the universe, tended by beings who had learned that the greatest power is not the power to destroy, but the power to create. Marcus Cole watched the ship disappear into the bright morning sky and felt something he had not felt In a long time, peace, not because the battles were over. There would always be new challenges and new struggles and new darkness to push back against. But peace, because he knew that whatever came next, he would not face it alone. The galaxy had changed, humanity had found its place.